guys?
Spirit of truth, wherever present, builds all things true, good things, giver of life, and abide in us, and this small spirit, and save our souls. Well, first of all, I want to wish you my good Kalimatanya. We're now one day losing fast, and I hope it's next, I really want to thank Nico and the whole Brotherhood for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight about this book, right? Following the Holy Father, The Timeless Guides of Authentic Christianity by Orthodoxy, rather a collection of essays by Father Theodore in translation. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to speak to you and introduce the book to you tonight. And to do an effective job of introducing the book, the first thing I think we have to do is get to know Father Theodore a little bit, some of the details about his life. If you're interested in more detail of what I'm presenting here, the first chapter of the introduction of the book gives a more detailed account of his life. But tonight I want to give you a little bit of a synopsis of his life and his works. So who then is Father Theodore? I want to give us a bit more specific knowledge. Father Theodore was born in island of Thasos. He was born into a priestly family. What I mean by that is that his father was a priest. And so he was born into a very devout and pious Orthodox family in the island of Thasos. Much of his took place in the ecclesiastical school of Xanthi, which is a very famous school in Greece. Many well-known people passed through its doors. And he speaks of his experience there as having been basically taught to read using the text of the scriptures and the text of the fathers. So this particular ecclesiastical school bred piety. After his graduation from the school at Xanthi,
Only the settings.
do you want to keep going, Nico, or do you want to stop?
The settings.
Okay. After his graduation from the school at Xanthi, he enrolled in university at the University of Thessaloniki. Initially, he was a student of law. After deciding to stop his studies for a short period, he served his obligatory military service and then returned to university, this time in theology in the area of patrology, where he did the rest of his studies throughout the rest of his life. So he's fundamentally what we would call a patrologist in academic circles. After through the course of his studies at Aristotle University, he went through all the usual programs of study to the point that he received his doctorate. He wrote his doctorate on St. John Chrysostom, Man and Cosmos in God's Economy according to St. John Chrysostom. So on the basis of that work, he received his doctoral degree. After he received his doctorate degree and graduated from Aristotle University, he did a couple of postdoctoral degrees in Germany. First, he spent a year at University of Bonn, where he wrote The Art of Virginity, a very, very important work, where he goes through the fathers and looks at their positions on the virgin life and sort of setting it in context. On the basis of that work, that postdoctoral work, he was given a lectureship at Aristotle University, so he began teaching at the university. And then after another brief tenure in Germany, he wrote a second postdoctoral work called Gennadi Scholarius, Life's Work in Teaching. And on the basis of this second work, Father Theodore was granted a tenure professorship. So at this stage in his life, he's teaching full-time now at university. Extending beyond these sort of academic endeavors, his basic academic endeavors to sort of acquire a position at the university, Father Theodore also has his career marked by a number of very important academic achievements. Firstly, he was the chair of the Department of Pastoral Theology at Aristotle University in Thessaloniki 2 separate times. He has held a number of prominent positions in academic institutions in Greece. He's been on the editorial board, or has been the editor of a number of important theological journals in Greece. And also he's the author of virtually innumerable publications if we take into account his articles as well as the books that he's written. Now, as a spiritual crown on his academic achievements, Father Theodoros was ordained to the diaconate in 1990 and then to the priesthood in 1991, first serving at the monastery, the Stavropegic monastery of St. Anastasia, a little bit outside of Thessaloniki, for a few years. And then in 1993, he began serving as the priest in charge or rector of St. Anthony's, a small church in the middle of the city of Thessaloniki. There at St. Anthony's, Father Theodore, apart from his academic credentials, distinguished himself as a concerned and busy pastor. Particularly, he's remembered, I think, most of all for offering after every single liturgy 2-hour classes on patristic themes. So he would serve, get up very early in the morning, prepare to serve liturgy, and then after liturgy was over, he would go downstairs to our Andriki, where he would speak for another 2 hours on themes associated with the Fathers, something to do with the Fathers. And on the strength of the work that he did as a pastor at St. Anthony's in Thessaloniki, he was made proto-presbyter by in 1997. And so Father Theodore served at St. Anthony's from 1993 until last year, 2017, when he was removed, basically for confessing his faith for opposing the heretical teaching, which had boarded a event. So from 93 to 2007, he was at St. Anthony's, and now for confessional reasons, having confessed his faith, he finds himself removed from that position. Now, this last very small segment of Theodore's confession with respect to the Council is probably what he's most known for, I think, in many circles and in many ways, I guess, in the English-speaking world. We see sort of scraps of talks that he's given translated with subtitles, or we see little pieces of it posted on Byzantine texts giving an account of what he's doing. We have a little bit of a sense of his struggle for orthodoxy, but most of us don't realize the strong educational background in patristics and the great love of the Fathers that this confessional activity of Father Theodoros is built on. We just see little pieces of it here and there, but most people are generally unaware of just how towering an academic figure, but also a spiritual figure this person is in Greece. And so that was one of the main purposes of the book, Following the Holy Fathers. The idea was that we wanted to give the English-speaking world a little bit of a window to be able to see what the foundation of Father Theodore's confessional struggles really is, and that is a deep study and love and reverence for the Holy Fathers. So what does the book include? What does the book include? We had two sort of opinions going into it, or two sort of options at hand. The one option we had, if we were going to present Father Theodore's academic work to the English-speaking world, one option was to translate one complete work, for example, to translate his PhD thesis or something like that. The other option was to put together a collection of articles, a collection of individual articles taken from various sources. And in the end, we decided that the best route was really to collect some articles and present his work to the English-speaking world this way. Why did we choose to do this? First of all, by developing or putting together a collection of articles, we were allowed to select articles which dealt with key figures across the Church's history. So from the beginning of the Church, from the age of the Apostles, right up to the time of St. Nectarius, for example, the book actually covers. We figured this would make it a more broad interest because it covers such a broad historical period. Second, having a collection of articles allowed us to choose articles that varied in approach. So some of the articles focus on how a particular figure engages a contemporary issue. Others present the life and works of a particular Holy Father, and some present a particular theological contribution of a Holy Father, and other articles represent refutations of non-Orthodox scholarship with respect to the Fathers. So in this way, we're able to get a picture of how this particular Orthodox scholar approaches the study of the fathers in a broad sense and in a variety of ways. Also, by collecting together a series of articles rather than just translating one particular work, we were somehow able, I think, more accurately to represent the broad spectrum of Father Theodorus' interests. Father Theodore has written on a wide variety of topics, and to translate simply one work wouldn't necessarily represent that very well to the English-speaking world. So for all of those reasons, we decided to go with a collection of articles rather than simply translating one work from start to finish. And so this is just a little section that explains the logic from this, from the introduction. This book then represents a collection of valuable scholarship covering both a broad range of patristic figures dating from apostolic times to the present day, as well as a wide variety of themes. Moreover, it paints a roughly representative picture of one of Greece's most important modern patristic scholars and effectively introduces him to the English-speaking world. Most importantly, though, this volume offers to show readers how an authentic Orthodox patrologist relates to the lives, texts, and teachings of the Holy Fathers. Now, in addition to that introduction, I also want to just take a brief second to run through the table of contents with you and let you know what's actually in the book in terms of articles. The first article, or the introductory sort of section of the book, is called The Holy Fathers in an Inexhaustible Fountain. And this is really just an introduction to the importance and value of the Fathers in a very general sense. The next segment of the book is dedicated to the early church articles Father Theodorus wrote on the early church. So we have monasticism as the imitation of Christ and the apostles. You know, many people trying to argue in the modern period that monasticism is some later invention. Father Theodorus in this article goes through in detail to explain that monasticism is actually just the life that Christ lived together with the apostles. And it's not something novel. The next article is the Apostle Paul as model pastor in the patristic works on the priesthood. And then an article on St. Justin, the philosopher and martyr, a tireless seeker of truth. From there, we move on to the next sort of epoch or age in the church's history, the age of the three great hierarchs. Here we have an article on St. Athanasius the Great as interpreter of the Psalms. We have an article on St. Basil the Great, Letters of Consolation to Those Who Mourn. This is a very, very beautiful article that I recommend that all of you read. Basically, what Father Theodorus did was go through St. Basil's Letters of Consolation. There's a segment of St. Basil's letters that were written to largely parents who had lost children. And so what Father Theodore has done is gone through and taken out a lot of the arguments that St. Basil used to console parents that he was speaking with. And he really does a good job of portraying in very basic terms St. Basil's methodology of consolation. Next article is on St. Gregory of Nyssa on marriage and celibacy, explaining how the church views marriage and how the church views celibacy, and that it indeed ranked celibacy higher than marriage. St. John Chrysostom on the raising of children. The next stage of the church that we go into is the time of the Christological controversies, and here we have an article on St. Maximus the Confessor, interpreting the Lord's Prayer, one on St. Isaac the Syrian, his life and teachings, and one on St. John of Damascus, explaining the passions and the virtues. The next area the book covers is the schism of the West falling away from Orthodoxy. And here there's an article on St. Photius the Great, asking the rhetorical question, was he a humanist? Father Theodore goes through and demonstrates that no, St. Photius is in the mold of the great hierarchs, St. Basil, St. Gregory, and St. John Chrysostom, and doesn't represent the beginning of a new humanist stream within the church. Next article is on St. Eustathius of Thessaloniki, someone people probably don't know much about in the English-speaking world. A learned and forthright hierarch, St. Eustathius is very famous, particularly for his commentaries on the Iliad and the Odyssey of Homer, but also a beautiful homily on hypocrisy and topics like that. And so St. Eustathius is a very important figure in the church's history that most of us probably don't know that much about. And so it's very useful to have Father Theodore present his life and works here for us. The next article is on St. Gregory Palamas, his social teaching. And after that, an article on St. Simeon of Thessaloniki, his life, writings, and teachings. Again, another figure that we know sorely little about, apart from scant quotes here and there, in the English-speaking world at least. So here, Father Theodoros gives us a good synopsis of St. Simeon's life, writings, and teachings. Next article is on Gennadius Scholarius, on the authority of the scriptures, the fathers, and the councils. So from here, from the time of the schism of the West falling away from Orthodoxy, we move on to the period of the so-called Colibades, the Philocaliac renewal, we might say, of the Church. Here we have an article on St. Cosma the Aetolian, theological and moral themes in his teaching, an article on St. Athanasius of Paros, a very, very good article, the place of St. Gregory Palamas in his writings and teachings. So we get to see how one father uses another father, how he relates to the tradition himself. Very useful lesson for us. St. Nicodemus, the Athonite, a product of Western influence. There was a lot of people writing, inspired, I think, largely by Christos Generas, saying that St. Nicodemus was somehow a Western because he was presenting the canons over again and making a big deal about the canons. He's somehow not Orthodox, but influenced by the Western sort of penal view of salvation and things like that. And so Father Theodoros goes in detail here refuting that claim and showing that St. Nicodemus is indeed a faithful representative of the Orthodox tradition and compiler of the Orthodox tradition. And then lastly, from here we go into the modern period with an article on St. Octavius the Wonder Worker, his character and his work, and then a last article on Islam and the neo-martyrs. Another very useful article for us. And so that gives you a little bit of a tour, firstly, of Father Theodore, a whirlwind tour of Father Theodore's life, why it's important for us to produce the type of book that's been produced here in translation, and what this book actually you can expect to find between the covers. As a last little thing, tonight what I wanted to do was read a passage. I had a couple marked out that were important, and if we have time, maybe we'll do both. But I wanted to read a couple of them from the introduction, just to give you a sense of Father Theodore's own view of the Fathers and patristic theology.
Father John,
yes.
Sorry for the interruption. Can I resend you a link? The voice has been a little bit choppy throughout the video. I thought it was on our side, but I've got some viewers online that are telling me the same thing. So I'm going to disconnect and reconnect with you. Hopefully that'll give us a better sound because I don't want to miss this part.
Okay.
Okay, Vloyson, thank you.